Yes! What is up, everyone? It's your favorite former U.S. men's national team player, Jimmy Conrad, and this is my Power Hour. We have a lot to talk about. We have some very special guests. We're talking about all the leagues. I think for the first time since the Power Hour got reincarnated from the other Twitch stream that I used to do, which was just me sitting here for a few hours and just chatting shit. And I don't know, did we get anywhere with any of that stuff? I enjoyed the process, but I like that we have it a little bit more condensed, a lot more professional. The graphics are amazing. I got a team behind me that make me look a lot smarter than I deserve to be. Speaking of that, and smart people, I've got some special guests that are coming on. Jasmine Baba is with us. I have become a newfound fan of her and what she's doing. I love her hot takes, especially about Arsenal, because who doesn't love hot takes about Arsenal? And then, we have Mike from Italian Football TV. He's going to come on and give us some insight on Serie A. There's a lot to talk about in all of these leagues. And, of course, we want to hear from you guys. John Hudson, actually, special correspondent for La Liga, is going to come on, too. I forgot to mention him. So there, I already see some VAR comments going on. But before we do that, though, I want to introduce our very first guest. Her name is Jasmine Baba. She follows a lot of sports. I think this is what I found really fascinating, is that she does a whole bunch of things with regard to the NFL and NBA and baseball. Like, I don't know too many Brits that like baseball, but I respect it. I respect the hustle and everything that she's doing. Jasmine, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Jimmy.
Okay, so I want to start with Arsenal. Can we start there? Is that
yes? Let's do it.
Let's just do some. I want to do some context first. Okay, we got to get some context as to why you're an Arsenal supporter. We need to know the why.
Okay, I didn't choose to be. Believe me, if I chose to be, I wouldn't go through the mess of a life of an Arsenal fan, because who would want that on their shoulders? I was born into it. I'm from London. My family are Arsenal supporters. I'm from North London, Northwest London, so a little bit further away from Arsenal. But because your family support it, you are then that fan.
So you weren't the daughter that was pushing back against her dad and saying, you know what, I'm gonna give you the middle finger and support Spurs instead?
Oh God, no. That didn't happen to me, thankfully, because I guess I have a mess of being an Arsenal fan, but being a Tottenham fan, slightly more chaotic and messy. So at least we won stuff in recent memory.
Well, I don't know. 2004 seems like a long time ago. Well, I guess you have some FA Cups. I guess I'm only thinking about the Invincible season. All right. So before we get into like some bigger picture items, because I know you also cover the Bundesliga, and I have some questions with regard to just quarantine in general for you. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me who your favorite player on Arsenal is of all time? I feel like that just gives me more understanding of Jasmine Baba.
I mean, a lot. If you ask that question to any Arsenal fan, most likely you'll get Thierry Henry, and he is one of the best strikers that has ever graced the Premier League. But for me, I'm a little bit more style and pizzazz, so I always go Dennis Bergkamp.
Wow.
I grew up watching him, and I mean, Thierry Henry scored all the goals, but there was something about Dennis Bergkamp, the skill and just the finesse he had, which caught my eye growing up, and it even to this day. And it wasn't just for Arsenal; it was for the Netherlands as well. No one can forget his pass to Frank de Boer and the legendary commentary that came with that.
Yeah, there is something special about Dennis Bergkamp. Now, I'm a Newcastle supporter, and that's when he pulled. We can all the jokes. I'm ready for any jokes that come my way. Okay, so I'm prepared. I'm used to them. It's fine. I don't know why I chose them. It chose me, I guess. Very similar to you, just in terms of circumstance. But I would say that that's when Dennis Bergkamp pulled that famous move where he touched it on one side, did like a 360, ran around the guy and scored. I still am not convinced that's exactly what he wanted to do. I just think he reacted quicker than the defender, who was clearly a donkey. But I mean, I just I don't know. I don't want to I also don't want to discount him, because I've seen him do so many special things in his career. He does have that in his bag, but it just seemed more opportunistic than purposeful, if that makes any sense. I'm just trying to save a little grace for Newcastle. That's all I'm trying to do, Jasmine.
I think all grace has gone from Newcastle, given their current situation. But you can argue all day if he meant it or not. He had the skill to mean it, and I think that's the difference.
All right, fine. All right, let's. Those are the good Arsenal days. Let's talk about the bad ones. I got a picture of David Luiz up right now. You put out an article on the ArsenalReview.com after the Man City game where Arsenal lost 3-0. I thought this was really informative, and one of my favorite parts was the fact that you had mentioned that, yes, we have some defenders that aren't very good, but our defending collectively isn't that bad. We've conceded the same amount of goals as Chelsea. Not that they're killing it on their back four either, but just you gave some perspective and some context there. But what you really thought were the issues were in midfield. You thought you guys were giving up a lot more chances, and you weren't creating as many. And that should be the main area that needs to be addressed, which is interesting because I feel like the only players that Arsene Wenger was buying for many, many years was midfielders. So how do you solve this problem, and with what players? I mean, you could argue that you should put David Luiz in midfield because that might be a better position for him. He has less defensive responsibility, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, so go ahead.
I think putting David Luiz on the pitch anytime soon might be a little bit of a rash decision to do. Yes, true. But I don't think it's a situation that Arsenal can get out kind of easily. We have had years that has led to this point, and it's not going to be a quick fix, unfortunately. So from like 2015, 2016 is where it really started to unravel. We lost loads of players. Serge Gnabry, for one, who's tearing it up in the Bundesliga for Bayern Munich. And then you've got, I know Alex Iwobi probably left for the right amount of money, but not kind of replacing those players. I think I mentioned in that article that not really replacing Aaron Ramsey is the biggest fault at Arsenal right now, because you don't have that kind of playmaker who can just do something special and really put all the hard work into the team and really made them gel. So fixing that, just finding a couple of midfielders will make that happen. We're playing Pepe on the wing when he's more of an inverted forward. So he's not really doing justice on the wing either. Luckily, we've got Bukayo Saka. So he is one of the shining lights in this team, and he can play, obviously, we've seen him play left back. He can play left wing back, where he kind of more suits, because him creating chances and as well as his defensive work has been a dream for a 19-year-old. But it's that middle of the park. I mean, we don't know really what's happening with Mesut Ozil. Aaron Ramsey's gone, obviously. Guendouzi's, we're not really sure what he does. Torreira, bless him, is a great player, but again, not really sure where he fits in the team. Xhaka has improved greatly, but is he more than a Europa League player when we want to be a Champions League club? Probably.
That's a great way to describe him. I'm not a Xhaka fan. I think he's too much of a liability, as is David Luiz. There's a lot of David Luiz chatter in the chat right now. Santi Cazorla apparently is in the chat. He says that I've always said that David Luiz was a CDM, not a center back. Well, thank you, Santi. You got to train with him every day, so that helps. He also said that he thinks that one Arsenal fan summed him up well. David Luiz would rather get an assist than a clean sheet. And there's nothing wrong with that, but unless you're a center back, then there's something wrong with that. And I feel like David Luiz's instincts are to play with flair when Arsenal and any team, I guess, that he plays for, maybe outside of the Brazilian national team.
Flair or play with fire?
Yeah, right. Well, that's true. It's a little bit of well, that's the line that I think that's the line that he tries to toe, and it never seems to work out for him. And now he's asking for a 2-year deal. They only want to offer him 1. I don't even know why you'd offer him 1. I'd rather just save that money and go find somebody else. Lots of issues. So with regard to this overall, I now have a picture of Mikel Arteta up. Is he the guy for you that can lead this club through the storm, or is he going to be like, I got myself way into the shit, and I just want to go back to Manchester City as soon as humanly possible?
I think he is the man for the job, but I think what needs to be understood is the club runs deeper than just the manager.
Hmm.
These are a series of failures from board level, from when we had Sven Mislat. I can't say his last name, but it's in my head. But even Gazidis is a main one. Like the kind of decisions that are being made. I mean, at board level, Edu and Raul Sine were about to offer Unai Emery a new contract, despite every stat under him going off a cliff and us crashing out of the top four places, us losing the Europa League final with embarrassment. They were about to offer him a new contract. So, yeah, Arteta is a strong manager and he will not take any crap from players. He's stamped down that perfectly. I think he had a massive influence on Man City, and if he can't do it at Arsenal, I don't think anyone else can. So it's
That's a
quite
fair point.
worrying.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So now I guess the question is the follow up to that, and there's also a comment in the chat from Atlanta United Fan TV. What's up, guys? He says Arteta needs to be backed in the transfer window. Now, as we know with the Kroenke family, it's hit or miss. Sometimes they seem to be into it, like they talked about Aubameyang and maybe Lacazette and even Nicola Pepe for a long time, and then they finally pull the trigger. And Pepe for sure hasn't panned out. Lacazette, I feel like just needs to play more, and Aubameyang plays out of position, and it feels like it. I don't know how all these guys fit, and now you have a lot of different managers that had different ideas about how to build this team, and maybe that's part of the problem. But do you think Kroenke will give Arteta the funds and the power? Because you got to move Mesut. I think it's his time is up. I just don't know if anybody's going to want to buy Mesut at this point because he's very expensive first and foremost.
Yeah, the Mesut situation is a truly odd one because Arteta and us will get on. So is it tactical? Possibly. Is there something else up? Also possibly. And he's still our most creative player. And
Mm-hmm,
to be
mm-hmm.
honest, it would be a shame not to see him in these next coming weeks, especially how we're still not creating any chances. Um, I mean, I guess against Man City, you could see why he didn't start. There was also the story that came out from the Athletic that said we had a false positive COVID test. So a couple of the players, I didn't actually get to read the article, but we had three players that couldn't train and therefore weren't ready for the Man City match. So I'm not sure if he's one of them, but it would kind of make sense in my head if he's had ongoing problems. Let's just say that. But if Stan Kroenke actually gives Arsenal any money, he should, if he really wants to be the businessman he is, especially like he is in the NFL and NBA, then he needs to do something. I mean, the club is going to bludgeon money if they don't end up in Europe, even the Europa League. And the only way to improve on that is to, you know, put investment into the club to be where we are again. There were a lot of mistakes, and I truly don't think Lacazette was good enough from the outset. He wasn't that great in Ligue 1. We have one world-class player in Aubameyang, and Pepe, I still need to see more of. I don't think he kind of prospered. He obviously scored against Brighton, and I think he will kind of flourish under Arteta. And it's kind of unfair that he had 18 months of Emery, who played quite anti-football and defensive football. So, maybe we don't need as much investment as you think. I think we can all kind of come to terms with the fact that Aubameyang will leave. Why would you stay, really? He's a world-class player. Why would you stay? So the investment from that could get us something to help us. But we have to look to our youth, and I think Arteta can utilize our youth a lot better. It's just more about clearing the deadwood that we suddenly have right now.
But that's not that easy. I mean, we also see it, and somebody made a nice comparison. Why always RV in the chat who said, "Is it crazy to say that Arsenal and AC Milan are very similar, former great teams that have thrown a lot of money at their problems with little success?" I'm not. But I'm not necessarily convinced that Arsenal has thrown money at their problems. I guess they have in some ways, but I don't know.
I think they threw money at the wrong point of time. So under Wenger hardly had any money to mess with. I know there was the summer where he bought Xhaka and Mustafi. But
maybe two signings they wish they never made, but
I would disagree. I mean, Xhaka and Mustafi under Arteta have actually been performing a lot more. I know Mustafi was at fault for the Brighton goal. But in terms of actually being solid, it's a lot better than other.
You heard it here first. We have a Xhaka and a Mustafi supporter in Jasmine. I
would like to clarify only once Arteta came in. But we didn't have the investment under Wenger, and they kind of went in the wrong places. The comparison with AC Milan, it's actually correct, and there's a reason for that. Even Gazidis, he's at AC Milan now, ruining them. He ruined Arsenal and then got out as quick as, and now he's at AC Milan doing the same mistakes. So there is a link, and he is that link.
So what's interesting, I'll give you a fun fact about Ivan Gazidis. He was the deputy commissioner of Major League Soccer when I was coming up and becoming a pro. And when I got called by the league to sign a contract, because our system is a lot different over here and all the players' contracts are actually owned by the league and not the individual teams, much bigger conversation. I'm not going to bore everybody with the details. But Ivan Gazidis was the one that was on the phone that called me. He's like, "Hey, I want to offer you a contract from the San Jose Earthquakes." I'm like, "No way, Ivan Gazidis." And then fast forward to 2006. I'm at the World Cup, I'm playing, and he was so impressed with how I performed, and he was so proud. I've never seen him more proud because an MLS player, me and Clint Dempsey at the time, were really standing out as two of our best players at the tournament. And I broke my jaw like a month later, and he ended up buying me like a Nintendo what was it? It was like a handheld thing and a whole bunch of games, and he like became my surrogate dad, and then he left to go be the guy at Arsenal. And I thought everything was fine when he first got started. Maybe he inherited a good system in place, but then it seemed like it slowly started to erode, and I think the whole thing was falling apart with the whole Wenger out stuff that just kind of to gain steam and getting fourth and celebrating getting fourth, and it just became a bit of a meme in a lot of different ways. So I don't. It's interesting. That's my link to Ivan Gazidis, and as you say, things aren't much better at Milan, and you wonder why they thought he was the guy that was going to solve their problems when he couldn't solve Arsenal's problems.
And Arsenal problems were kind of solvable. There was one hiccup in his last season, which was the away form. We were degrading, we were declining in some stats and some things that we did. But in terms of home form, we were the second best team in home form in Wenger's last season and the season before that, bar maybe Man City. It was only the away form and the tactics he couldn't get right. And the Wenger out kind of campaign kind of gained traction, and I'm still kind of angry that there was a board manager friction, that Arsene Wenger didn't deserve that kind of abuse that came out. He just didn't, and I don't know what exactly happened, because Wenger might have, if you were in that position, you would kind of be like, "This ain't for me, I don't like this, I'm gonna go." And the board, I think, was on like pushing that line as well, so I'm still mad at that. It wasn't the right time for Wenger to go. I'm not saying he shouldn't have gone earlier, but that moment in time where only Unai Emery was the best person to pick, that means it wasn't the right time.
Okay, Jasmine, I could talk to you about Arsenal all day long. I'm not even an Arsenal supporter, and I find the whole thing super fascinating. But we're going to move it over to the Bundesliga because I know you care a lot about this league as well. I've got a photo up of Jerome Boateng hugging Lewandowski as they win their 100th straight Bundesliga trophy in a row. what do you think about the Bundesliga this season? This isn't a big surprise. It seemed like potentially, like it always does, first half of the year before the winter break, maybe Bayern won't do it this year, but the other teams just can't maintain their consistency or their quality over the span of a season. And obviously with the pandemic, that throws off a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
Are you surprised by Bayern's success? Are they going to ever lose the title in the near future? What are your thoughts on the Bundesliga?
I don't see them losing it next year, unfortunately. I think this year had such high hopes of someone else winning, something else crazy happening, and then we got hit by the pandemic. And I did a very long article looking at all the remaining fixtures that the top four, maybe five had. I can't remember if I included Bayer Leverkusen at the time. And I was like, you know what? RB Leipzig has a really good shot at this. They've got the easiest run in. They're on fire. You've got Timo Werner, Christopher Nkunku just absolutely killing it off the park. And then we get hit by this pandemic, and you're just like, well, we don't know what's going to happen in any aspect of life. And we come back, and, RB Leipzig, there's a possibility that they won't even make the Champions League places. So it's kind of unfair to put everything on this league. Last season, it went down to the last day. So, there were signs that Bayern might not have the dominance that they once did. However, they're probably going to get Leroy Sané if that deal hasn't been done yet. And they've got Serge Gnabry. They've got Lewandowski. Dortmund's gonna.
They're so good. They're so good.
They're so good. It's outrageous. It blows my mind how good every single player. And they've not only got like a starting 11 of world-class players. Every backup is. Their backup team could win the Premier League. And that's not an assumption. The only kind of liability they have is Manuel Neuer, who goes absolutely nuts because he can. He can just bomb out forward if he wants, and they'll still be all right. We thought we saw a little bit of a kind of, they look weak. They got beat 5-1 by Eintracht Frankfurt. No, we'll sack our coach, get this guy in, it'll be fine. Who does that? How are their front three going to line up next season? How good is Alphonso Davies? Like, all of these questions. And, yeah, if they don't win next season, I mean, I know Dortmund are Dortmund, but they're going to lose Jadon Sancho. And...
To where? Where is he going, you think?
Oh, I think he'll come back to England.
Okay. Is it Chelsea or Manchester United? For me, those are the only two spots he's headed.
I think it's Manchester United.
Okay.
Team, especially if there's a good chance Manchester United will make a European place. Whether that's Europa League or Champions League, I can see Chelsea or Leicester dropping out that Champions League place for Manchester United. So if they get Champions League, that's it. Jadon Sancho's gone there. Even though it's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they've got such a good team with Paul Pogba and Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes now pulling the strings in midfield. That Bruno Fernandes transfer is one of the best buys of this season. He's suddenly made everything click for them. A little bit more reinforcement and clever buying in the defence, and you've got a very good team, and Jadon Sancho would fit in that team like a glove. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes there. Unless someone like a Spanish super club then picks him up. That's always a possibility.
Always a possibility. You can never count out La Liga, especially Real Madrid. Now, let's talk about Robert Lewandowski really quick before we move on to a different maybe storyline in the Bundesliga, because I want to talk about Bayern. Do you think, given what he's done, this might be an award that is more of an accumulation given his consistency over so many years, but do you feel like he should be up for the Ballon d'Or this season? Because there's a strong argument for what he's done, and how I think he's the best number 9 in the game right now, with all due respect to some of the other ones. Kareem Benzema's obviously playing really well, especially when VAR is on his side. It's a shout out to FG on steroids over there. I see you in the chat. And that was a handball, by the way. And Luis Suarez, of course, when he's healthy, he's got to be up there too. But there's something about Lewandowski. He's super professional, and in some ways, I wish he would have left Germany. I wanted to see him with Real Madrid. I want to see him maybe in the Premier League, just to see how he would do in these other leagues. I have no doubt he'd be successful, but maybe not at the same rate. It's hard to say. We just will never know. But do you think, get back to the original question, do you think he should be up for the Ballon d'Or? Because he's never been on the podium before. He's never been in the top 3.
I find it astonishing that he has never made it close, but I think it's like MVP awards in NFL and MLB. It normally takes in account who wins the tournament.
Sure.
And it with the Champions League this year, they've got a very good chance of winning it. It's between Bayern Munich and Man City, really. But there's still kind of weaknesses in Man City that I see, that I can see, you know what, they come against someone else in the Champions League and I can see them losing. Bayern Munich, I don't see them losing. I just don't. And if they win the Champions League, he's definitely up there with a shout. I mean, 48 goals this season across all competitions, 33 goals in the Bundesliga in 30 games that he's played. He is phenomenal. He's 31, nearly 32. He's still absolutely crushing it, and I completely agree with you. I guess it was a bit different last year, especially with Liverpool winning the Champions League, and to be fair, I'm quite surprised Van Dijk didn't win the Ballon d'Or, because he's been such an anchor for Liverpool. But defenders don't really win these kind of awards, and you've got Messi.
It's a shame. It's a shame, Jasmine. As a former defender, it's a big time shame.
It should be. I remember the days where I can't remember exactly what year it was, but I was touting Manuel Neuer for the Ballon d'Or as a goalkeeper, because it deserves its own accolade. But yeah, he's definitely up there. His goal scoring record, and to keep at it every single year. They've already won the Bundesliga now. Like, there's no excuse if they, even if they come close.
Do you think, though, and he's also, and you alluded to it, he's the leading goal scorer of the European Golden Boot right now, top 5 leagues. He's 6 goals ahead of second place, which is Ciro the Hero Immobile from Lazio. Now, do you think it's because maybe the Bundesliga isn't respected in the same way? Like, if he was doing it in La Liga, it's because Bayern Munich just steamrolls everybody, right, in Bundesliga for more often than not. If he was doing it in La Liga, even Serie A, where it's not easy, right, the Catenaccio, there's that perception of being very defensive. And then obviously in England, which is a whole different beast entirely. If he did it there, I feel like he'd be an easy pick, or at least in the top 3. But because it's the Bundesliga, it feels like that works against him.
I don't understand why the Bundesliga is seen as this, though. If anyone who watches it week in, week out, the quality of everyone is so high. And you see these score lines, like 5-1s or what have you, especially from Bayern Munich. But then you actually watch it, and the quality of the other team, even the smaller teams, they don't have the same kind of money that you get in La Liga or Serie A. And they play out, and they have the most quality out of any other league, I would say. The French league, you've got Mbappe ahead of Lewandowski, and the French league is a lot less quality than there is in the Bundesliga. So honestly, I don't know why. I agree with you. If he was doing it in La Liga, that he would get more of a look in. And probably the fact that they haven't won a Champions League has hindered his chance of winning the Ballon d'Or. But he deserves one. If they come even close to winning the Champions League, he deserves one this year.
Well, you guys heard it here from Jasmine Baba. She says Robert Lewandowski deserves to win the Ballon d'Or. It's going to be hard unless Barcelona ends up winning their league. They're tied with Real Madrid at the top of the table, but behind in goal difference. And if they win the Champions League, I think maybe it will be NFL or MLB like that. Whoever wins the Champions League will probably, and if they win their domestic league, they'll be a shoo-in for at least being one of the favorites to win it all. Though you got to consider one of the Liverpool players. Though I feel like they kind of cancel each other out, because if Mane does well with Salah, you could consider him, or Firmino, or Van Dijk. I mean, there's so many different options on that team in particular, and I think that hurts them for individual awards. Obviously, collectively, they're very, very good. Now, there's one player I want to talk about before we let you go, and thank you so much for your time, Jasmine. It's Erling Haaland, who has been an absolute beast since making his jump from RB Salzburg to Borussia Dortmund. Scoring goals at ease. How long? I guess the big question is, if you have any insight here, how long do you think he'll be in the Bundesliga before he makes the jump to, I think he'll go to the Premier League, but maybe, as you said before, one of the Spanish super clubs will come in and buy him instead.
I see Spain more than the Premier League. I think before it would have been an even kind of shot. With the pandemic coming in, I think a lot more Premier League clubs have a lot less money, and Dortmund will hold out for the right price with him. I mean, I think he's got another year. They won't let him go unless they've get an absolutely outrageous price for him now, especially with Jadon Sancho going. I think he will go. They'll keep Haaland for another year. After this year, especially if he keeps up what he's done, then after next summer, then we'll kind of see the Spanish money trying to get him. I can just see Real Madrid just go, we need him. We've not really replaced Ronaldo. We need him more than anything else in the world. I don't even want to think about the money they'll try and offer him. It's kind of sickening to think about it. But yeah, I would say at least a year, possibly two. They might try, and he might have a good head on his shoulders and think, I want to develop, because there is still things that he can develop in. He didn't look too sharp coming straight back in off the kind of suspension, but he's young. That's what happens. You're not consistent all the time.
I think he's at one of the best clubs with regard to development and as a stepping stone to that next thing. I feel very similar to some people in the comments, Santi Cazorla's who I saw, who said that his dad played for Leeds and City, and he grew up in England, so there might be an affinity to go back there and almost be better than his dad. Who knows what kind of competition they have between each other, but maybe he wants a new experience. I mean, I think he seems like a team that is, or excuse me, he'd fit in really well with Real Madrid. You know, I don't know if he's a Barcelona player so much, but I don't know. I mean, he's fourth overall in the Golden Boot race in all of Europe. You know, he's not too far behind all the names that we're talking about for that winning the Ballon d'Or, and he's still so very young. So his future is very, very bright. But so how many years do you think he's got left in him at Borussia Dortmund before he makes the jump?
I would say a maximum of two. I would say next summer, I think we might see some kind of, depending on how he does, obviously, but he'll hold out this year, see how he develops, and maybe do like a switch. Now remember, Jadon Sancho's been at Dortmund for the last 3 years, and people have wanted him for a while.
It's true.
But then you've got the new crop coming in, and people like Real Madrid who will want to spend super money. And I think that will be determined by if those other clubs, such as Real Madrid, win trophies. If Real Madrid doesn't come close to the Champions League or La Liga, then we'll see a lot more force from them to try and buy someone like that.
We could see Haaland and Mbappe at Real Madrid in the coming years, and that is crazy. Well, Jasmine, thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome. Your insight is incredible. Make sure everybody to follow her at _Jasmine Baba on Twitter, and on Instagram at _BabsJ. We're gonna have you back on. That's the highest praise I can give you. I loved having you on, and you've got a lot of great things to say, and we look forward to the next time.
Yes.
All right, Jasmine, everyone. Now it's time for a little halftime, and then we're gonna come back with our La Liga correspondent, John Hudson. Yeah, if you can imagine him and La Liga in the same sentence, well, you're gonna have to. We'll be right back. Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm not on stream. See if any, can you guys hear me on screen? Can you hear me on stream? Yo, what's up, stream? All right, just gonna get John Hudson all lined up. You guys have to do this poll for us, huh? We spend a lot of time. Oh, I didn't switch it. Damn it. Mike K's gonna be so pissed at me. Anyway, the poll was... I knew I had one thing to do. The poll was... I'm just gonna verbally say it to you guys. This was actually the halftime orange thing that I wanted to do. And I'll take full ownership of not changing that. The poll is, would you rather build a team around Pjanic or Archer? As you guys know, that big transfer just happened. And we're going to get into that with our La Liga correspondent, John Hudson. So let me know, which player would you rather build your team around? If you start with one player, would it be Archer or would it be Pjanic? Assuming Pjanic plays to his potential, I think that's going to be part of it. Sorry, Mike K. You can just give me a red card in the chat. Guys today. Second half is coming up. The big poll, which I forgot to change here on the graphic, is who would you rather build your team around, Pjanic or Archer? Now, Archer is younger, of course. Let's just say maybe they're the same age, just to give it a little bit more edge there. So it's not maybe right now, just in terms of their ability. Who is the team that player you'd rather build around? I find this swap deal, even though I think Barcelona is going to net out with 12 million as well on top of this, interesting. I find it very interesting. Feels like a very Arsenal move by a midfielder kind of tweener that maybe hasn't reached his potential. I don't know. That's my initial thing. Yeah, I see. Jinky, what's up? Pjanic was in his prime at Roma. As a Roma fan, I was okay with that. And then he made that move to Juve and just didn't really step up. And then why always RV? I would say why always swerve. It's funny. Now I can kind of see it for what it is. Pjanic, okay. Leon says that Pjanic was best in Roma. Agree, it's like he's failing upwards. GK coming in hot. Even Pjanic's folks' parents would build a team around Archer. That's funny. Yeah, you're right. Why do Juventus need more upcoming CMs, though? Good question, Jinky. I would say, I think Ramsey's gone, right? Are they moving Ramsey? That's the plan. But anyway, you guys keep talking here. I got to get John Hudson, our La Liga correspondent, all lined up and ready to go. But let's keep that conversation going. Maybe I should bring down the music a little bit. Or not. It's fine. You guys can hear me. Yeah, and just as a reminder, everybody, we have Mikey from Italian Football TV coming on after Mr. John Hudson, who apparently, since he's in Spain, is going by Juan Rio. So we got that going for us, which is nice. Juan Rio. We got to make sure you guys reference him as Juan Rio from here on out. Don't let him get away with this nickname, Juan Rio. Hold on, we're not ready with you, Juan Rio. Just relax, pal. Apparently, I don't know, where is he? He's in Ibiza right now. Are you even allowed to travel to Ibiza? Listen, I can't hear him. No, Juan Rio, I can't hear you right now. You just relax, pal. We can't hear you. You're not on screen. It's just halftime with not the poll that I wanted because I'm an idiot. We're almost there. Ibiza looks nice though. I can see him. I can see Juan Rio right now. Yeah. My favorite part about this is that Juan is talking to me. Juan Rio Hudson. And I can't hear him. That's my favorite part about this whole process. One more to go, everybody. One more to go. I'm going to bring this, one of my favorite correspondents, John Hudson, onto it. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. Thank you for your patience. Halftime is almost over. All right. All right, before we get to Hudson, though, everybody, I want to catch you up on, this is actually, we haven't even posted it anywhere else. It's the Soccer Minute for today, June 23rd, and it's about La Liga, so check this out really quick, and then we'll bring in Mr. Juan John Hudson Rio. Enjoy this.
Breaking news. I'm in charge, so shut the f*** up. Alright, listen, so I am getting a lot of shit right now because on two important plays in the Real Sociedad, Real Madrid game, I voted in favor of Madrid both times, but if Barcelona just would be scored against Seville instead of being whiny babies, who were held to no goals and a 0-0 draw, nobody would be cared if I helped out my favorite team, I mean, the best club in Spain, I mean, Real Madrid. In case you missed it, the first one was when I awarded Vinicius Jr. a penalty that with the benefit of slow motion instant replay is probably not penalty, but I don't care. I wanted to see my favorite player, Sergio Ramos, set the record for the most goals by a defender in La Liga history, so he better make his next tattoo of me, and on the second one, I allowed Karim Benzema to handle the ball before scoring the match winner. And, yes, I know the official rule says that the shoulder is considered a handball, too, but, come on, no one wants Spain to like Italy, Germany, or France, where the same team wins the league every single season, so suck it Barcelona, and your 4 La Liga trophies in the last 5 years. Madrid president Florentino Perez needs to prove he can win without Cristiano Ronaldo, and I have rent to pay, so I am helping them. How Madrid?
That is ridiculous. And now it's time to welcome in the man, the myth, the legend, Juan Rio, who's live from Ibiza, apparently.
Lads, mate. Yeah, I'm here in Ibiza. I know you sent me here, Jimmy. It's just like kind of a fact-finding mission in La Liga. But the thing is, when British people come to Ibiza, we get very red and we stop partying, man. We just get the rave on.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking my budget that I gave you to fly all the way there and not be around anybody. You're clearly social distancing.
Oh, mate, it's wonderful, man. The clubs here are packed. I've been seeing players from the Orlando Pride out at the clubs every single night. It's brilliant, mate.
Okay, all right. Well, let's talk about the big thing that we were discussing at halftime. It's Artur moving from Barcelona over to Juventus, and then Miralem Pjanic coming over from Juve to Barcelona.
Deal, swap deal,
it's a swap deal. But I mean, Barcelona nets out. I think it was $72 million for Artur and $60 million for Pjanic. They still make $12 million on the deal, and they get an older guy that maybe hasn't played to his potential in 5 or 6 years.
Oh yeah, it's like when they got Arturo Vidal. It's like the same thing as that. Except now they're getting rid of the Artur, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. That's interesting. Yeah, well, why would you get rid of, if you're Barcelona, why would you get rid of someone like Artur? Now, I know when I watch games and when I watch the fans that are talking about Artur, he does play a lot of, we used to call it the 10 freeway, because the 10 freeway is the only one that goes east and west here in the States from one coast to the other. And he never seems to play forward. He seems to just play very safe. Maybe there was... But he's just like a young guy that covered a lot of ground and did a lot of things that I don't think he gets enough credit for, whereas Pjanic plays a little bit higher. Do you feel like they're going to maybe put Frankie de Jong, a little bit lower into that spot a little bit? It's just a really interesting decision for me, and one that I can't wrap my head around completely. And I figured since you're there, maybe you'd have some insight.
Yeah, man, I've got boots on the ground, haven't I? Or
Sandals.
Sandals on the sand, innit? But with Barcelona, it's like, what have they been doing for ages? You know, since Pep Guardiola left. You know, they that one little bit where they had the what's it called? Not the BBC. That was when Neymar, Messi, and Suarez were all taking those photos. That was kind of nice. But since then, they just kind of a player here, a player there, and you'd think a guy like Artur, who's passing, he's a passer. That's what they like at Barcelona. They like a guy who do it left and right. Bit of tiki-taka, but but no, they think, you got to win now. You got to put your nose to the grindstone and make your team good now. And maybe they think Pjanic's the man.
It's interesting, though. I mean, if you look at the team now, Pjanic is coming in. As Ajinki says, you got Rakitic, Vidal, and Messi's getting older too, right? And you got Busquets, who's not getting any younger, PK. It's interesting that they're trying to add older guys as opposed to building a younger nucleus. So they must have seen something in Artur or didn't see something in him potential-wise. As I still can't. I don't get it, and they've made some other signings. Coutinho obviously didn't pan out. I don't even think Griezmann is panning out in a lot of different ways. Do you want to build around Griezmann? Not in this current system. He didn't grow up playing this style. I think Barcelona is going to be struggling for a while, and Messi can only do so much, especially as he gets a little bit older. What are your thoughts on Griezmann in particular?
That's a brilliant point, mate, because, Griezmann, it strikes me as the kind of wow, fucking hell, man. We don't really know what we're doing. Let's just get the best guy from the other guys, and we'll slot him in, I guess. And I think this is actually a prelude to what we're going to see a lot with Barca over the next few years as Messi hits his decline. Because Messi reminds me right now of my mate, big lad Steve, who's just a massive raver. But then he hits 36 and he starts to have kids. And he's still trying to hang, but it's like, big lad Steve, no, go see your family, bruv. Your kids need to learn how to do their homework, man. So, I think with Messi, it's going to be a few uncomfortable years where it's like, oh, what, can we pull him back? Can we make him the new Pirlo or something? And as that's going on, Barca, they're going to have a lot of transfer misfires as they try and figure it out until Messi eventually retires. But obviously that will be in the future.
No, it's interesting. I still don't think that Griezmann was a good purchase. I mean, I think he's a talented player. I just feel like he isn't the best guy per se for what they're trying to accomplish. It seemed like he really wanted to go there. He wanted to play with Messi and Suarez. But now that he's on the team, and actually he did okay when he was playing as the 9 when Suarez was hurt, right? And he can kind of do his thing very similar to what he was doing for Atletico Madrid. But when he goes out on the wing, I just don't feel like he has as much of an influence on the game, and I think he defers to Messi a lot, as any player would. But
Absolutely.
I don't know. It's interesting, and I wonder what his future's like too. And because they're going to need some wingers, as you say, that's actually not a bad shout. That Messi could drop further back and just be a deep line playmaker. I mean, I think he's so good at breaking the lines that I don't know if he'll ever get away from being quick. But
it worked out great for him. So it's the Wayne Rooney move. You drop back.
Yeah, right.
You win the Ballon d'Or as a holding mid.
Okay, so what do you think? Yakimus, what's up? Yakimus in the chat says Barcelona's becoming a retirement home. They're like the MLS of La Liga, right? Am I right?
Come on, they're Barca, mate. They're always going to be Barca, maybe. We've always said this, when Pep Guardiola left, it's like, oh no, what's going to go on with Barca? They'll be fine. It'll be 1 year or two that they iron it out. They're not going to drop back to the Ronaldinho days where it was all flair and no points. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying. Let's talk. We're looking at the table right now. So Real Madrid and Barcelona are tied. Madrid have a better goal difference, and they have the head-to-head as well, if I'm not mistaken. And then you got Sevilla in third with 53 points. Atletico right behind them in fourth with 52. Then it drops off to Getafe, Villarreal, Real Sociedad, Valencia.
Yeah, the rest.
The rest, as we like to say. Do you have a pick in this one? I mean, after you saw the soccer minute, VAR is obviously making their decision. They clearly want Madrid to win the league. Do you think Barcelona can get back into it, or what are your thoughts on this?
I mean,
Juan Rio.
I do like Real Madrid. They seem to have the momentum. I mean, I think speaking a bit more provincially, we saw in the Sheffield United Newcastle game that Sheffield, after having that terrible call against them in the Villa game, it's a bit harder to, G yourself up when the very technology that we put our trust in is going against you. When the big man, Jeff Bezos, is frying your brain with his satellite rays. It's like, oh, how am I supposed to get up and win the league? So, Barcelona, they're strong mentally, but it's very possible that with VAR having it in for them, and it does, because I know VAR's my mate. I sell him well, stuff. And I see him at the club. He's loving it because he's got all these brown paper envelopes from Real Madrid. But it's possible that Barcelona get a little disenchanted.
You think so?
It's possible. I don't fucking know, man. I'm just saying you're raving, bro.
Listen, that's why I flew you to Ibiza. I like that you give it the Ibiza.
If you want facts, get Sid Lowe on, bro.
So there's FG in the chats like, oh, keep blaming Barca's shortcomings on VAR. I think we've already gone into great detail as to why they have some shortcomings. A lot of it's due to their age, obviously changing managers in the middle of the season who's got a different type of philosophy. Is gonna impact them as well, and just a lot of their signings not panning out. I mean, one of my biggest concerns, and I remember tweeting this out, if Arturo Vidal is one of your best attacking players, you've got a problem with your goddamn team, right? And especially with a team where he's running past Luis Suarez and Antoine Griezmann and all these players to get into a good attacking positions. That just defies logic as to you being a good attacking team if Arturo Vidal is your guy.
Can I put a theory to you, Jimmy? Can I put a brain theory on you?
Yeah, please.
Right. So, do you think it's possible that, like, when Barca had the La Masia products of, like, Messi and Xavi and Iniesta, they're like, wow, we're the best. We can churn out these players year after year. We'll be fine. Not realizing that these were once-in-lifetime players, that the stars aligned to get them all at once, and then they're trying to do it again. They're like, oh, wait a second, this Artur we have isn't good enough. We got to sell him. Oh no, what's going on? Oh, let's get Arturo Vidal. Let's get Pjanic. Oh, maybe that will fix everything. But like, do you think they put too much trust in their system, and now they're seeing, well, we kind of messed up a bit there?
Yeah, there's something amiss. I don't know. I don't really know what the fix is.
I don't know, mate.
I mean, that's why I said I don't know, which is why I found the money to send you to Ibiza. Apparently, I thought you were going to actually be in Barcelona or Madrid, but clearly you decided to
mate.
take
Got a layover.
layover. All right, let's talk really quick about Sergio Ramos, who with his goal against Sociedad, he became the highest scoring defender in La Liga history. I want to give a shout out to a fellow defender for having the consistency that he's had and being such an influential part of Madrid's success for many, many years. Do you have any thoughts? Any closing thoughts, let's say, on Sergio Ramos?
Yeah, it's incredible he's been able to do that despite being suspended for half of the potential games that he could have played, you know? Like, to be able to get all that in despite missing a lot through, yellow cards, red cards, shenanigans. Like, fair play. And I think, like, Sergio Ramos, you're English, bro. Come on over. You'd be right at home in the championship. I want to see him 42 years old, elbowing the next great English hope in a Birmingham United game.
Well, Juan Rio, thank you so much for your time. This insight has been interesting, I think, is the best way to say it.
Peroni. Wait, Jimmy, 1 second. Actually, I'm not in Ibiza. I'm in Hull. I think I'm in Hull.
What? How do you have your shirt off at Hull? I mean, is it even warm enough?
I don't know. I was just raving so much that I'm in Hull. I'm in Hull City.
Oh, man.
What
Jesus. All right. Juan Rio, everybody. When we come back, we're going to have Italian Football TV's Mike Kantaris to come in and talk a little Serie A. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to roll a few clips while we get Mike on the show. All right, I'll see you guys in a second.
So when are you going to admit that strikers are more important to a team than midfielders?
When it's true.
Listen, baby, what are you talking about? Without us strikers, you midfielders who are too afraid to shoot would have no one to pass to.
Tell that to France, who won the last Men's World Cup without their striker scoring a goal the whole tournament.
Was that necessary?
Am I wrong?
It's Olivier. He doesn't count.
See, the problem with you is you think you're better than you really are when we do all the work.
Running around like a maniac to prove to your coach that you care is not really work. It's wasting energy.
I'm high pressing.
You're just okay at a lot of things, but not great at one thing like me.
I knew being great at something would pay off.
Heading doesn't count. Listen, the best players in the world play this position.
No, the best players in the world play this position.
Messi,
Ronaldo,
Neymar,
Mbappe.
Those guys don't play your position. They play my position.
Oh, come on.
This is some bullshit. So when are you going to admit that?
Again, as Bruce alluded to before, I think Conrad Bocanegra is definitely a guy and has to be a major target on this play.
Number 4 for the United States. Lennon sends it in, the header, and that's into the back of the net. The United States strikes, and it's Jimmy Conrad. Jimmy Conrad finds the net. 1-0 USA. Jimmy Conrad, a late bloomer. He'll be 30 next Monday. A big goal in his career.
Well, I mean, you have such a game, a defensive game, the kind that he's had already tonight. Again.
Messi. Protection of Conrad. And the throw in. Considering the good work of Jimmy Conrad.
Oh, not just good work, everybody. Great work. I think that's what needs to be clear. That was fun. Juan Rio is a special guy, and I'm very excited that he joined us from Hull, apparently, which is the new Ibiza. In this pandemic. But we're going to have Mikey come on from Italian Football TV. He's just doing a quick post, and hopefully he'll be ready. I don't know if he's ready or not. He looks like he's ready. Is he ready? He looks like he's ready. He just gave me the thumbs up. We're going to go to him right now. Yo, Mikey, what's good, dude? Look at that set. I thought I had the juice going, but you
what's
got
up,
something
guys?
special going on.
A little short-handed. Marco right now, he's a business partner on IFTV, just had surgery on his knee. So I'm trying to be with you, Jimmy, and the Monopoly game's actually going on. It's gonna end in actually 4 minutes. So we got time.
So wait, you're doing Monopoly with your injured teammate Marco, and obviously we wish him the best. While doing this at the same time?
Yeah, exactly. I'm multitasking.
God damn it! What a multitasker you guys are at IFTV.
Yeah, we gotta try our best, you know. So
okay, all right. So one of the things that I want to talk to you about, Mikey, is Serie A. It's back, but it feels different without the fans. I think the joke is there's less racism now in the stands. Do you is that too hot of a topic?
A little too hot. I'm sweating over here from now on. Oh man, yeah, it's a little weird now. I'm just happy that it's back. The most important thing is obviously for the safety of everyone in Italy and all around the world, make sure that they don't, not even a possibility they can get COVID. But a lot of people are saying it's not the same without the fans. Yeah, I know it's not the same, but I'd rather have football back than me staring at the my paint dry on the wall. So at least we get something back. But do you agree, Jimmy? Everyone's saying, "Oh, no fans, not the same." But there's something. There's at least something. There's something of substance that we can actually watch, so we don't go crazy.
No, I think it's a good thing that the leagues are back, and if they're doing the right things, as you say, if they're being smart and getting all the testing and not putting people at risk, including their families, I think that's a great thing, right? Because it does give us something to talk about, and it does give us some escapism, even though there are some real world things that I think we still need to continue to address. So there's that balance, of course. And I think the game ultimately, and we didn't talk about it yet on this show, but the White Lives Matter banner that flew over the Burnley City game is absolutely atrocious and reprehensible in so many different ways. But the game is so closely tied to what's happening off the field. I think that's ultimately a good thing because players can be role models to help impact that change in a positive way. So even though that was disgusting, I think in some ways we can turn it into a positive and continue to have the conversation about why that needs to not happen and why people need to get educated and to listen and learn about this privilege that a lot of people don't think they have or whatever it may be. That's a tangent, but I just wanted to get my 2 cents on that. But with regard to Serie A in particular, it's been interesting because I feel like let's get back to the sports side of it for a second. Why does Juventus win the league every year? We know Lazio isn't going to catch them. Inter Milan fell off. We all knew that was going to happen, Mikey. So I hope you passed go and got $200 right now, you bastard, because I just don't understand. It's just not that much fun to see Juve win it every single season. Will that ever change in the near future? Or are they just going to be the Bundesliga and Ligue 1 for the rest of the time?
Well, listen, give it a second. First of all, if you haven't known, Inter's still in the race. They won yesterday.
Come on.
They still got a game in hand. Lazio, Lazio still have a game in hand. If they win against Atalanta, they're only 1 point behind, and Juve's been criticized back and forth. Their squad hasn't been performing. They've been playing horrible football. Their midfield isn't clicking. Pjanic is most likely to go. They have a lot of injuries. So, to be honest with you, I think Lazio have a real possibility. They are the underdogs. They have nothing to lose, so they're going to give it their all. I can actually see Lazio doing this because most of the pressure for Juventus is on the Champions League. So if they slip off a little bit for the league, Lazio is 100% going to take advantage of that and keep going if they have a healthy squad for the rest of the season.
Okay, so tell me this. Do you think that Juve fans would relinquish the league title if they could win the Champions League?
If Juve win the Champions League and they lose a Scudetto, the league title, I don't think they'll hold that much of a grudge with Juve because that's what they've been wanting the whole time. It would suck. Like for the Coppa Italia, they lost to Napoli also a few days ago. But if Juve can manage to win the Champions League, what they wanted the past few years, that's why their president brought Ronaldo in Torino. The biggest reason, I definitely think they wouldn't mind it. I think they'll definitely trade a Champions League if they don't win the Scudetto this season, 100%.
Okay, and you really think that Lazio has a chance? We're looking at the table right now. They got 62 points. I know they have a game in hand, but Juve just has that quality. They know how to get it done. They're winners, right? They understand what that pressure is like. Lazio, as much as I love Ciro, the hero Immobile, and we'll talk about him in a second, but I just don't know if they have the stones, is what I'm trying to say, the John Stones, to see it through, to hold off teams like Juve. And then there's still shouts. We're seeing it here. Creator K said he'd love to see Inter win. I don't know if Inter has. They seem to be I mean, they're 9 points behind Juve. I know they have a game in hand, so technically they could be 6, but they seem to not be as consistent as they should be given the amount of talent they have on their team.
Okay, I get where you're coming from. Now I wanna say my point. In the beginning of the season, I didn't have Lazio in the top 4. I didn't even think they'll make Champions League because I thought they'll keep going in the same path they did last season, which was inconsistency. But this season, they're a whole different beast. They're winning against the teams they need to. They beat Juventus twice. They beat Inter, and they're still going. They're struggling sometimes against the smaller teams, but they all do. But Lazio this season is completely different from last season. They're winning the games that they're supposed to. They're winning against the big teams, and that was the biggest problem last season. And Inter, like I said, they're still in it. There's 13 games left. A few draws here and there, and Inter back in the race at 1 or 2 points away. So I definitely think it's still a 3-horse race. The people that are counting them out, I think they're making a huge mistake. Juve have a lot of pressure, but I think their main focus is Champions League, and that's where I think they could slip up.
They could, but the Champions League, given the new format, isn't as difficult, let's say. I mean, I guess it's difficult because you're just playing these one-legged affairs, but it's not as taxing because you're there. You're in Portugal. You're doing your thing, and I actually want to get your thoughts as to whether you think whoever wins the Champions League this year, will it really count the same as a normal Champions League season because of the pandemic? That's one thing. And so it'd actually be kind of funny to see Juve win it this year when the rules have changed a little bit. Everybody's like, that one doesn't count. It was all in Portugal, and you just played 4 games to win it all. It just felt like a March Madness type tournament. So I got Ciro the hero up, and he's absolutely dominated, and I love his consistency. He's like the Lewandowski of Italy in some ways, except his team doesn't win the league title every single year. But he's so good at finding the back of the net. I don't think it's a 3-horse race. I think it's a 2-horse race. As much as respect that I have, maybe I'm just saying that because I'm a Roma fan. Don't tell anybody, but maybe my bias is showing. But I would say I just don't think they have the quality to do it, and I think they'll drop off. I think they'll get into the Champions League, so I'll show some respect there. But I don't think they're going to really, really, truly push Juve. Inter, though, I think could, and I think that would make Juve a little bit more nervous. I don't think they fear Lazio either. But let's scale this back a little bit, unless you want to hop in on the Champions League thing. I want to hear your thoughts on that. But I want you to talk about Ciro, the hero, because he is another level, and I want to know if you think he'll always stay with Lazio, or do you think he's going to move on to another club, maybe in another country?
For now, for Ciro Immobile, I want to talk a little bit about him, because right now he has 27 goals. No one's touching him. Ronaldo's not touching him. Lukaku's not touching him. This is his league. He knows how to score. He knows how to do it. Now, the thing is, he's on track to beat Higuain's goal-scoring record, which is 36 goals. If he keeps up this form, he will definitely beat it. It's just a matter of time. He just got to start playing, and they play tomorrow against Atalanta. That's going to be a huge match for the people that don't watch Serie A. Absolutely huge. That could be the deciding of the Scudetto race for Lazio if they win that game. But yeah, Immobile, as you can see, when he went outside of Italy, he went to Dortmund, he went to Sevilla, he wasn't really clicking. He wasn't doing good at all. But now it looks like at Lazio, he really found a home over here, and he's doing incredible. There's a lot of rumors of him going to a different team, but I can't see Immobile leaving Rome. He loves it. He loves it here. He's scoring, and he already won silverware with Lazio a couple of times, and I think they're only going to get better. I don't think Lazio are going to sell their best players. I think they're going to keep most of them, unless it's an outrageous price. Unless Man City or Man U says like 200 million for Savic or something. But other than that, they're actually building something incredible, and I think Immobile is going to stay for that journey. He's going to become a legend for the club. He's probably going to break their best ever goal scoring in Lazio's history. So I definitely think he's going to stay. I don't think any amount of money is going to get him out of there, at least for his prime in his career. And he's going to go down in the history books. And I really think, Jim, even though you don't think so, I think Lazio could do something this season. So
I mean, they've only lost twice all season, and they have a plus or a goal difference that's plus 37, which is second best to Atalanta. Exactly. So they're doing it on both sides of the ball. So you're right. They are building a project here. Maybe I'm underselling them a bit, and I guess that's maybe because I'm a Roma fan. But let's transition to Atalanta. And we're going to have you back on. If this gets really close and it's a nail biter, you guys are definitely coming back on to talk about how you were right and I was wrong about Lazio. But okay. With regard to Atalanta, these guys are absolute beasts. They've scored 74 goals so far this season in 26 games. That almost 3 goals a game in the league is insane. Gasperini is a genius as a manager. I'm surprised he stayed. I know he had other options to potentially go to quote unquote a bigger club, but it speaks to how much belief he has in this core of players.
Yeah, you said it best yourself. Atalanta is the opposite of Italian football. Italian football is all about defending Catenaccio, playing defense and counterattacking. Gasperini ripped that Catenaccio in half, and he started his own style over here. They play a different formation that most Italian managers usually don't. They usually do a 3-5-2 or 3-4-1-2, but they're always a pleasure to watch. If there's 10 games on and Atalanta's playing, I'm 95% sure I'm going to put the Atalanta game because they're incredible. We all know what they've been doing in Champions League, which is amazing. And 74 goals, Jimmy, you said after 26 Serie A rounds. The last teams to do that after 26 rounds who have at least 74 goals were Serie A teams in the 1950s. Nothing in this new decade. So they have amazing players up front. They have Zapata, which now they own. He was at Napoli before, Sampdoria also. They got Papu Gomez, the captain, that he's like a god in Bergamo, the city where they're from. Ilicic, he might be older, but he's found his form over there. Gasperini turned him into a monster. Pasalic, that they just bought from Chelsea, actually, 15 million euros. I think they bought him yesterday. Another amazing player. They have Muriel, that doesn't even play. Another amazing player that's on the bench. They have Malinovsky, another great attacking player they have on their bench. There's just endless amount of players that they have. Their scouting is incredible. They bought these players for nothing. They get a lot of their players from the youth leagues, the Primavera, and they turn them into absolute beasts. Gasperini over there, he's done wonders with such a small amount of budget. This season, I actually put Atalanta not finishing in Champions League. I think I put them in like 6th place because I didn't think they could manage Champions League and Serie A, because we all know a lot of those teams that usually just come up one time usually struggled in an extra competition. But Atalanta are absolutely killing it. They beat Valencia. We saw them. They smashed Valencia. And this is a dream. You could even say Atalanta could fight to win the Champions League. They're not scared of anybody.
Well, so I think the Champions League is wide open because of this new 100%. Format. I mean, you got one leg. Anything can happen in that one-off. And I think if you go down on a good run, or if your team is in good form, you could definitely steal a trophy after only 4 games being played, where nobody has to travel and everybody's like, the line is even, right? You're not sleeping at home. You're not traveling anywhere. Everybody is like focused on one thing, and that's to win the champion. It'll be interesting to see, and I think that that Atalanta is a team that's hard to defend. And I think a good example of that is Ilicic, who Ajinki says has been slept on for over 2 seasons now, which is surprising. But he has 15 goals. And then Duvan Zapata has 13 goals. And then Muriel, even though he doesn't start off, and has 13 goals as well. And I think that speaks to how many different players can hurt you at any given time when you play against them. Like, okay, if you want to go defend this area, they're going to go smash you somewhere else. And if you try to collectively defend them there, well, they're going to beat you somehow. It's really impressive. And Gasperini has done so well. Leon Noel says, I have so much respect for Gasperini. What is he doing in particular? Is he just a good man manager? Is it his tactics? I can't speak right now. Or is it a combination of both?
To be honest, I think it's a combination of both because he really understands these players. I just want to bring up some examples of what Gasperini's done. He's had players like the past few years. Kessie was there, Conte was there, Gagliardini was there. This was a few years ago when Atalanta were selling these players. And all those players that I mentioned haven't been the same in their new teams. They haven't been nearly as good. So that goes to show that Gasperini really knows how to unite this group, gives them confidence, and his tactics are amazing. The whole team is fighting 90 minutes. Their wing backs are incredible. Hatebor, they have Gosens as a wing back position. Those guys are absolute tanks. And just in general, when you see them, you see so much passion. You see them fighting like they're fighting for their lives. So it's definitely a mixture of his tactics, definitely a mixture of how he unites them. And Gasperini is one of those players that you just respect. He might not be a big name, but he just unites everyone, and you just want to fight under him. There's so many quotes on him, how he brings the locker room together, and he always brings this calmness to the locker room. He's never nervous on the bench, and you always feel like he has something up his sleeve. Because even when they're winning 3-4-0, this guy Gasperini has the balls to bring on Muriel or Malinovsky, Pasalic, another attack, and they show no remorse to the opponents. These guys beat Torino 7-0 in the beginning of the season. They were up 3-0. Instead of making players rest, sit back, this guy's putting in Muriel, Pasalic, Malinovsky, score more. This guy doesn't care who you are. He's going to give it his all. He doesn't care if you're Manchester City. He's going to play his kind of football, and he's not going to change it for everyone. And I really respect him for that.
Same.
And I really, really hope they do something amazing this season, especially in Champions League.
No, and I love that. He's got that stubbornness about him, that Italian stubbornness. And
Exactly.
I respect that a lot because he has a vision and he's built a team that's a reflection of that, and they're obviously having a ton of success. And when you have a lot of success with your vision and your players buy in, this is the result of that, right? You get to see the true potential of what it looks like. Another manager, and I have Maurizio Sarri up now, is also a stubborn Italian manager, and he's brought his style now back to Juve after being at Napoli. He just suffered a loss to his former club in the Coppa Italia, so that has to hurt. I have a picture with him at Chelsea when he signed Jorginho, and there's a lot of talk now that Jorginho might be coming back, assuming they can pay the money for him. I don't even know if they need Jorginho. They just got Archer, right? And they got Rabiot, and they got a whole bunch of other guys in the middle midfield, Ramsey. What's happening with Juve's midfield? Would Jorginho, come back? And do you think Sarri needs to win a trophy this season for him to stay on, or do you think they'd fire him?
Wow, this is for Juve. This season has been crazy, and for the bad reasons. Sarri does not look like his philosophy is clicking over at Juventus. But then you got to say he doesn't have the players that he plays with at Napoli, at Chelsea. He had an amazing midfield. At Juventus, nothing's really clicking. They have Khedira there. They have Matuidi there. They have Pjanic, who's pretty good, but this season he hasn't been performing. Bentancur is probably the only one that's kind of performing, but as of late. And these aren't Sarri-type players. Sarri needs someone like Jorginho, like you were saying. That's why he brought him from Napoli to Chelsea, and they were playing his kind of football. But if not, all the Juve fans are fed up with Sarri. They really want him out. And I could definitely see him gone next season if they don't impress in Serie A or Champions League. It's looking really, really bad for him. So unless he does something spectacular, he's probably gone next season for sure. Nothing's clicking. His football's not. It's been months, and his football hasn't looked attractive at all. They're playing horrendous, but they still managed to be first place. But like I said, I don't see him. I don't see a bright future if he doesn't do something spectacular for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of pressure, but that's part of the job, right? If you're going to have one of the big clubs, you got to deal with the pressure and the responsibility that comes with it. Now, last story before I let you go, and thank you again for your time and for pausing your Monopoly game, and give Marco our best again, Italian Football TV for life. You guys need to follow them on all the social media stuff. And I actually will ask you 2 more questions after this one, but this is with regard to my former or my favorite club in Italy, Roma. They got Pedro, and I think some people would laugh at that move, but then I hearken back to Kolarov, who left Man City, and they felt like he was past it. And then he's gone to Roma and been a good leader for the club, been very consistent. And I think with that youth that they have, it was a good move, right? He brings some stability, some responsibility, some accountability, all that good stuff. And I think Pedro could do the same. But not everybody feels the same way. How are you on this move for Roma, and do you think it helps?
This is interesting because for me and Marco, we're fighting for like cats and dogs about Pedro, if he'd be good or bad for Roma. Me, honestly, I love older, experienced players, not for the whole team, but a few here and there. Like Kolarov, like you were saying, he's been fantastic for Roma, absolute beast, experienced, help out the young squad, like you were saying that Roma have. But I would take Pedro 100%. I think he'll bring a lot to a team. He'll bring his experience. He can play as a right winger. He can play behind a striker. And I think he's something that Roma could definitely use, definitely fight for a real spot in Champions League, definitely secure if they secure him. But yeah, he might not be playing 90 minutes, but he's someone definitely off the bench I could help and teach the younger players something. So 100% I'd bring him in if I was Roma sporting director.
All right. I respect it. Now, one last question. This is about your set behind you. Gervinho. You have all these stars behind you. You got Dybala, you got Baggio, you got Beckham. And then somebody said, Gervinho doesn't really fit with the rest of the names that you're displaying. Why Gervinho? I love Gervinho. I thought he did well when he was at Roma.
I love Gervinho too.
He's something about him. He's awesome. But he doesn't fit with everybody else.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I personally think he fits. Gervinho actually sent us that jersey signed. He's cool with us. He has our merch too.
Oh, there you go. That's all you need to say. Done deal. I'd frame that baby for sure. If I could
to
get
be honest,
him.
I always love Gervinho too, just in general. He's a speed demon. He's a beast in FIFA. So I always liked him, and he wears our merch, so that's enough for a reason. There's another thing. There's an Atalanta jersey there too. Martin Derun actually sent that to us. Atalanta's midfielder with the whole team signed.
Okay.
So, we have that framed up too.
Damn.
So that's why we're huge advocates of Parma, Gervinho, Derun, and Atalanta this season. But in general, they've been amazing this season, both of them.
No, this makes me want to do like American soccer fan TV, so I can just get all these signed jerseys. Is that how it works?
Well, for the most part, if a player like that sends a jersey, we'll hang it up for sure. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Well, Mikey, where can everybody find Italian Football TV, and what are you guys working on at the moment? I know you got this merch going, this Calcio merch that I'm a big fan of, and it's super comfortable, and I wear it to bed. Maybe that's too much info, but that's
awesome.
where I like to wear my Calcio gear.
Thanks so much. Actually, right now with this whole break that's been going on, we've been actually doing Twitch pretty frequently to fill in the voids of no calcio, no football. So you can follow us there, twitch.tv/Italian Football TV, and the rest of our socials at IFTV Official. Mm-hmm. You can find us there for the remainder, and on YouTube at Italian Football TV. But Jimmy, before we go, I had a quick question.
Questions for me. Here we go.
What do you think about the 5-sub rule? Because me and Marco, another thing, we've been fist fighting about this one. I think it's a great idea. Marco saying, it's ruining the sport. They get paid so much. They don't need 5 subs. They could be playing every few days. What do you think about it? I think it causes injuries. It's better to do 5 subs. I don't want to see anyone injured. So and it's different to see.
Yeah, no. I think it'll be one of the rules that they continue to adopt. And I'm a fan of it, and this speaks very personally. I retired due to concussions. And I think it gives a manager more flexibility not to be, holding on to a sub maybe at the end of the game in case somebody gets hurt. You could put your 3 subs out there that you probably want and maybe save 1 or 2 for injury, including a significant one like a concussion. So from that angle, through that lens, Mikey, I love it. I also like that you have to you can only do 3 changes, right? It can be 5 subs, but 3 changes.
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
that there's that gamesmanship too, where you have to throw 2 guys on at once. So I'm a fan of it. I don't know what Marco's deal is. Maybe he's still on drugs from all the surgery or whatever. But I don't know why there would be pushback on that. I understand, guys get paid a whole bunch of money. Well, there's a whole bunch of guys that sit on the bench that don't get to play at all. I'd rather see them play and maybe make a really impactful run on the field during the game. And I think you really could change your tactics in a much more meaningful way if you had 5 options as opposed to 3. So I'm a fan of it. I don't have any problem with the 5 subs. Now, if it got up to 7, I'd be like, well, that seems a little crazy. But 5 for me seems like a nice sweet spot. So I hope they maintain that rule in particular. And obviously, again, I'm seeing it through the concussion lens. But overall, I think it enhances the experience, and I think it gives the managers more flexibility and options, and really get to utilize the bench in a more meaningful way. And think about the guys that are in training. Like if you only have 3 subs, and I've been there before for many years. Those guys obviously can make a difference. If you change a guy that can hold the ball up well with another guy that can run into space, obviously that'll change your tactics and how you want to approach a game, or if you take out a defender to add an attacker or whatever it may be. But 5 guys, I mean, the ripple effect of that decision, if they maintain it, is that more guys will have a chance to play. And I assume the trainings will go up in the level because, if you're not a regular starter and don't get meaningful minutes, it's not that you don't train as hard because, as you said, these guys are paid and this is their dream and their passion. But it adds a different kind of layer, right? And you add to the fact that these guys also get bonus. Anytime they make an appearance, a lot of them get bonuses, right? So there's a lot of little things that I think will just continue to push the level. I'm a big fan of it. I'd love to have Marco on, and maybe when he's off the drugs, we can have him on and talk sensibly about this subject. But and I love him, and I hope he gets back soon. But I'd like to hear his countering to that outside of just, well, these guys get paid a lot. I don't know. I don't know what he's telling to you. I don't know what he's saying to you.
Yeah, he was basically saying that, and they're athletes. These guys train every day. They can do it every 2-3 days. And that's what he basically said it like that. But I was just saying, I countered it like you were saying, for sure, your vision. I don't want to see anyone injured, and I basically just want to see, it'll be exciting for the last few things to do it, especially for this crazy season that we're having now.
Yeah.
So I think it's a no-brainer for me personally. It's not like it's going to carry on to the next season. I think that was also another thing you were saying.
I hope it does.
Season, that might be a little crazy. But whatever.
I want to keep it. So FG in the chat says he loves the 5 sub rule. So FG, I guess the question for you and anybody else watching, would you continue it into the next season? Martin says they're playing every 3 days right now, so 5 subs is okay, which speaks to your point, Mikey. But then John Hudson, who I think was just in Ibiza, was really crazy. He's now in the chat. Do you think that 5 subs favor the bigger teams with better depth? I mean, the obvious answer is yes, but again, I still think it creates a nice competition, a healthy competition, and gives your team more options. I mean, you buy all these guys for such an exorbitant amount of money, you should be able to play them and give them more meaningful minutes.
That's true. I get your point. Yeah.
So you I didn't know. I thought you wanted to keep the 5 sub rule into perpetuity, but you're saying just for this season.
I was saying that might be too much. I was saying just for this season alone.
I say keep it. I say keep it throughout. Just keep it.
I'm not
That's
against
too crazy,
it,
bro.
That might be a little different.
Oh, we learned something new about Mikey. He's with Marco until next. I see. We'll have to have you guys both on, and we'll have a proper debate about all this. Well, Mikey, thank you so much for your time, dude. That was awesome, and I feel a lot smarter about Serie A now, and I'm sure everybody in the chat does too.
And I hope Lazio prove you wrong this season. I hope they do amazing, and I hope a lot of them do something in Champions League too. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, we'll have you come back on relatively soon anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. And then if Lazio does get to the last, well, you can come back on and rub it in my face. I'm
perfect. Thank you so much for having me on, Jimmy.
All right, Mikey. I'll see you later.
Awesome. Have a good one. Stay safe,
there
everyone.
He is. Yeah, you too. All right, there is Mikey Kantaris from Italian Football TV. Make sure you guys give them a shout out. And now, I lost it. Can you guys still hear me? I don't know if you can. Here I am. I'm back. It's time for the Soccer Minute of Appreciation, sponsored by The Soccer Minute. And this week it is Sam Kerr. And with the NWSL coming back, even though I think things are a little bit on the fence, let's say, due to the Orlando Pride. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but the Orlando Pride had 10 players test positive for COVID, so they are now not going to the tournament they were going to have in Utah. Now, they weren't in Utah already with all the other teams, so it didn't spread to the other teams. But they can't go, and now they have to quarantine, and it really impacts their families. And they're saying that it all started because a few of the girls went to a bar where COVID had been exploding, of course, a couple nights before they were supposed to leave to go to Utah. And now 10 of them have tested. All of them are asymptomatic, which is great, but that doesn't mean that they can't pass it on to other people, including younger or older people and their families and all that stuff. Pretty heavy stuff right now. But I think the NWSL is still going to push on. That's my assumption. They're still going to play. They just have to figure out how to handle this Orlando stuff. And I'm sure there's a lot of conversations we can have about how selfish it was by a few of those players to take on or to make that choice and put everybody at risk. I still think maybe people don't understand the strength of COVID and how it's still out there. I feel like we're all ready to be done with COVID, even though COVID's not ready to be done with us. So yeah, it's still being thoughtful about the decision making, especially for these pro athletes who should know better, right? Anyway, under that, I do want to give a shout out to Sam Kerr. As you can see, all of her stats here, an incredible player, two-time NWSL MVP, including last season. She won the Golden Boot the last 3 seasons. She was the W League Golden Boot winner as well, because they have the opportunity, once the NWSL season isn't very long, so they have opportunities to potentially play elsewhere, which includes Australia. She went down there and did her thing and won the Golden Boot there. She's just an absolute beast. She's the all-time leading goal scorer in the NWSL and the Australian W League, as you guys can see, and the only Australian footballer, male or female, to be named to the shortlist for the Ballon d'Or. And I just wanted to show my appreciation. We all did, for what she brings to the table. And if you have a chance to watch Sam Kerr play, I highly suggest doing it. She is a class above, similar to Marta, the Brazilian, who I think she's my age, and yet she's dicing people up still. And I really love that about her as well. So yeah, keep your eyes out on all NWSL stories that are happening, and anything that's happening in the beautiful game. We are going to call it a day for this Power Hour. We've gone over, I think, almost by 30 minutes, so it's like Power Hour with some extra time. But we'll be back on Friday. I was going to stream around the City game. I think they're playing Chelsea, if I'm not mistaken. That might be a possibility on Thursday. However, I'm cutting a new podcast that I think you guys will really like. It's called Mind's Your Business, and it's on the sports psych side, and I don't really get to talk to it. Sometimes on Twitch, I get into it with you guys, but this is with one of my good friends who's a sports psychologist. We've talked to one of the top women's volleyball players in the world, Sarah Pavin. We had John O'Brien on, who's considered one of the best American players we've ever produced, who we went to Ajax at 18. We have a whole bunch of episodes in the can. We're going to be dropping them very soon, so be on the lookout for that. But we have a very special guest on Thursday. We've been working really hard to get him, and I didn't realize that game was happening at that time. So if we can move that appointment around, then we'll try to figure it out. If not, then we'll see you guys on Friday, and it should be a lot of fun. So thank you again, as always, for the support and everybody else behind the scenes. It's making me look a lot better than I deserve to be. And you guys have a good rest of the week. We'll see you very soon. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you guys had a lot of fun. And to my special guests, minus John Hudson. No. I'm just kidding. I'll see you guys later. Love you.